This is group 4 for their advanced portfolio presentation.
Alright, so this is our movie pitch, and our movie is obviously called Irene, and we're going to start with the synopsis. And rather than creating like a short DVD back cover synopsis, we've done that Wikipedia site. We've got the whole plot here, so yeah.
So Irene is a young and chic woman in her early 20s. She's like a bit of a lady of leisure, lies about stuff. But at night, she prostitutes herself because that's how she pays for her luxurious life.
One night when she was attending one of her friend's parties, she sees her ex-pimp there, and he tries to get a little bit involved again, but so she leaves the party abruptly. But during this night, something quite different happens than the usual kind of.
Yeah, so when she leaves the party, her ex-boyfriend / pimp and his henchmen follow her and brutally assault her and rape her. And she loses her consciousness and wakes up in the early hours. And after a couple of days, she's still panicking, super frightened about what happened. She finally decides to leave the house to get some groceries, and she puts a gun in her coat pocket just to like feel safe. And at the shop, she sees one of the men who attacked her that night, and she decides to follow him, and at an empty street, she shoots him to death in like broad daylights. And yeah.
So then she goes to her friend who had the party and asks him what she should do, and he tells her like to do what's right, basically like seek her revenge. And then she begins to prepare for the revenge, being spurred on by her friend.
And then she goes on a killing massacre, and lots of blood and gore, kind of like the Kill Bill kind of reference that we made there. And she goes to the pimp's house, and there's a final confrontation between the two.
And the ending of the film, it's like it happens after a few months of like after killing Jacob, the bad guy. She's walking down the street and she sees a man trying to rob a woman. Just some random woman, she doesn't know either of them, but we can see her pulling a gun out of her sock, and then she breaks the fourth wall and smiles at the camera, and that's the end. So it sort of hints that now she's like, you know,
A bit of like a heroine, like
yes,
saving the
women and
yes,
damsel in distresses.
about a title.
So we went for the title of Irene because Irene was the Greek goddess of balance in society. And what we did for our slogan was say a new goddess will rule because the name from the goddess and she's ruling the day now.
Yes. Simply is that.
So in the three act treatment, it's obviously the equilibrium is where she lives a normal life before the attack. The disequilibrium is the attack and the killing of the pimp and his henchmen. And the new equilibrium is a normal life and then protecting the new women in distress.
So about our influences, like when we came up with this idea, our first thought was that we wanted to do a feminist film, and we're tired, at least I'm super tired of seeing women portrayed as either super weak or over emotional or then cold-hearted bitches. So we wanted to portray her actually as a human being with a range of emotions, and yeah, she's not just a bad guy, she's not just a good guy, she's not a 100% heroine, she's like an anti-hero sort of, and therefore she's human. And also, we have that horrible main character of Jacob, the pimp, but we decided to bring Oscar, her friend, to sort of counterbalance, and which means that basically feminism doesn't equal hatred of men. She doesn't want to kill all the guys, she just wants to revenge the bad ones. So yeah. And obviously it's a really current and important issue, and the World Health Organization has found out after doing a lot of research that 1 in 3 women experience sexual and or physical violence in their lifetime. So it's definitely like a really important issue to address. We were also inspired by the French New Wave film, and some aspects of that we can see in our film as well. We have these philosophical concepts of morality, both in terms of like the audience and the characters. We can see her questioning what is right, what's wrong, what should she do, like in terms of the revenge. Is that the way to act? And yeah, it also explores like contemporary culture, the society in terms of like violence, like dominant status, yeah. And in terms of like filming techniques from the French New Wave that we are going to include in our film, we are going to favor reality. We're not going to edit too much, obviously we're going to do a bit of that. But there's going to be like a lot of natural lighting, and we're also going to have some scenes in black and white, like the beginning of the trailer. And we're going to also shoot some like improvised scenes and have some improvised locations, so it's not going to be like 100% planned out what we're going to do. And mistakes are allowed as well, and there's going to be some long shots, not just like, you know, really short jump cuts. And then obviously postmodernism in our film. We can see that in the hybrid genre. We're gonna have elements from action, drama, and crime, for example. Crime, we're gonna, like most of the props are the type that we associate with crime, for example. And then drama, the coloring, we're gonna tone the colors down a bit, which is like really typical for drama films. And another postmodern element is that the film challenges conventional narratives. We're going to have the anti-heroine. She's the heroine. Yeah, she's not. We can't say that she's either a good or a bad character. She's both of them. And we're borrowing from the past, the New Wave movement. And yeah, you could say that our topic and the representation, like the hyper-violence in the film, it could be said to be controversial. So that's of course an element as well.
So, for costumes, she's going to be like French chic, like obviously New Wave and all that, so we're going to keep in touch with that. And Jacob, he's a pimp, so obviously he's going to kind of look a bit like, not with like the cane and stuff obviously, but like quite, he's got quite a lot of money, so he's going to be wearing like expensive suits and stuff, and the henchmen are going to be a bit more like laddish, like a bit more thug type, so yeah, and the settings will be dark, in like lots of alleyways, because obviously a lot of dirty and dark things happen in alleyways, and we're gonna and obviously I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but Dan does parkour, so it's going to be really helpful for us.
So what we're going to do is kind of go on a load of rooftops, get some aerial shots even, and create a more interesting array of scenery.
Yeah, and Irene's apartment is going to be like a sense of like safety and stuff, so that's the place where she goes back to feel like away from everything. And we're going to also incorporate some nature in there because it's quite urban. And we thought that it would be a nice contrast to have it in a field, like have some scenes and fields and stuff. And props, drugs, phones, weapons, alcohol, shopping basket, money. Yeah, drugs and weapons come into it a lot. And that is our plan, which you probably can't see that well.
No. Basically, I went through all the key points are on this side, and then it goes through like the description, the mise-en-scène, the camera shots, angles, and things like that. All the props, costumes, all there, and we have more of that, but it's kind of much to put in.
And marketing, our target audience, it doesn't just limit it to this, obviously, but it's more targeted towards females between like I don't know, like 18 to 30. It does say 20 there, but like, you know, like young teenage women to like young, I don't really know what 30 is, not middle age, but Single, because then they can relate to her more. Students, casual workers, like interested in like all the things that are in the film, which is like fashion, feminism, music, and independent, intelligent, and aware of social issues, which obviously is a big part of our film.
So we looked on the BBFC website to see what certification that we would need, and these elements that they actually on the website encrypt we should have an 18 film because of the strong sexual violence, the violence, the swearing, and everything else that's in there.
Yeah, well, obviously we're not going to have real sex or strong horror, but yeah. Otherwise,
But that's one of the points they made. So.
Yeah.
And to promote our trailer, we would obviously need lots of different types of media, but particularly interactive media, such as Tumblr or Facebook, YouTube, and you know, it kind of creates a niche audience and allows more creativity in advertising. And obviously, because we would be an independent film, not we would be an independent film, but
Film company.
yeah, that's the one. Obviously, we wouldn't have a budget big enough to afford mainstream advertising, so interactive media is a really popular way. For example, Monsters, which someone's already used, but that's quite popular if you don't have enough money to advertise in like TVs and all that. And basically, I like a blog, for example, would be really good because, like, you can, for example, on Tumblr, you can reblog images and videos and creates more like buzz around the film, and like you can just like go on Tumblr and like look at all these different pictures and like have teasers and stuff. And yeah.
To sum it all up, revenge is a bitch.
So, any questions?
With the kind of the subject of rape, like you said, it's quite a big issue. Like, I know you said it would be an 18, but how would you kind of approach the kind of rape scene and how she deals with it? She's obviously...
Obviously it's really sensitive,
Yeah.
but like it wouldn't be shown at all. It would be implied. Like, obviously it's a really sensitive issue and we wouldn't just like shove it in your face.
It'd be in the movie, but it won't necessarily show the whole scene in the trailer.
Yeah, and it's not going to be like graphic, like horribly graphic or anything. It's going to be, obviously we're going to deal with it really sensitively.
Yeah, rather than showing like the action, we're going to show her response to it. That's going to be the main thing.
Any other questions? Ellen?
To be honest though, most girls from 18 even onwards find it really uncomfortable watching a film with rape in it, so how
First
you-
18.
yeah, I know, but still, even like I find it uncomfortable because I've watched films
Yeah.
like with that sort of scene in it and it's
Yeah.
so uncomfortable
Yeah.
to watch, so
Yeah.
like how are you going to fit it in so the rest of the film isn't spoiled by that one thing? That's the only thing that your audience can remember.
To be honest, I don't think that a rape scene would necessarily ruin the rest of it. Like I've watched films with rape scenes in them, and although it is really horrible to watch, like it doesn't ruin the rest of the film. Like for me personally, like I think the message isn't about the rape; it's about her empowerment as a woman
Yeah.
afterwards,
Yeah.
and that's what the important thing is.
I think it's a very brave subject to deal with. I just wonder how you're going to pan that out within the rest of the film, as Eleanor was implying.
Yeah.
But I think, that is obviously a very sensitive thing, but I think to your credit, you have looked at some of the research and talked about, the statistics involved, and that it's probably such a taboo subject that it's not really dealt with in film.
That's exactly why we wanted to do it, because that's something so current, so common. Like most people don't even realise how many women actually experience this stuff, and therefore I think we should give the voice to the women, and we should give them some hope in terms of the empowerment.
Okay. Any other questions? I think my main question for that subject would be then how you deal with that subject through the film, and having a slogan, "Revenge is a bitch," kind of. I wonder whether that kind of belittles what Eleanor was saying about the subject of rape, or whether that
because we make it into a film where she's shooting everyone, which is
Yeah.
so unrealistic
Yeah,
Yeah.
to how rape would actually turn out for the girl. So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of being not really actually the main thing in
Yeah,
films
yeah.
that she's decided she's going to go around shooting everyone.
yeah.
So it's not really the main bit of the film at all, where it should be, because it's a big, like,
Yeah,
as you
yeah.
said, you want to show women
Yeah.
how, like, it's going to be alright and everyone's
Yeah.
there for you, but it's not very
Well, okay.
realistic.
Like obviously we can't like show you what we, like the image that we have in our head of how it's going to be, but the way that we want to film it is going to be like it's going to be completely like I don't know how to explain it. It's going to be. It's not going to just focus on her killing people and her. Because the part where she gets attacked is obviously really important because something really horrible has just happened to her. But the way we're going to film it is going to be like, I don't know how to, like, it's going to take the edge off it, and like we're going to show her reactions afterwards. It's not just going, like, she's not going straight into killing people after that. Like she has to deal with it. She has to go speak to someone after.
Yeah, exactly. And the main point of the film isn't that she turns to like a killer or something. It's the process of after what she experiences. It's her way to deal with stuff, and obviously, in terms this is a film, we want to show something radical, something a bit provoking and extreme in a sense. But yeah, we will definitely, take into account that the sensitivity of the subject, and because the main thing of the film is like we want her to be a human, not just a bitch.
We want her to like turn around from like this this attack and like come out and be like, obviously she's killing people, but it's I don't
Yeah, and that slogan that we had, revenge is a bitch, rather than it like referring to her personality or cold-hearted bitch, it refers to her profession. She's a prostitute, which is also a feminist issue as well. But,
Okay, so I think it's quite a brave subject to take on, but I think that you've kind of got two sort of ideas that come out of it. It kind of sounds a little bit Kill Bill, which is, obviously sort of less realistic. But then you're talking about the kind of French New Wave that is much more kind of based in reality, isn't it? And it's much more thought-provoking. And I think you're probably in the latter school, are you? A bit more kind of sensitive about the issues rather than just let's show it as
that's the challenge that we're going to have,
Okay.
to combine these. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it turns out.
Okay.
And we want to play with this, like, there are a lot of contrasts in this film, and we want to play with that, like the extreme reality and the extreme, fantasy or unreality. So.
Right, well, you certainly have a postmodern approach to your
exactly,
filmmaking.
Exactly.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.